So the first most important question here, what color is this dress?
It's obviously blue with black stripes.
Okay, that is official. Doctor is saying blue and black. So we've basically solved this. What was your first reaction to this kind of dress debacle?
My first reaction to this is that visual perception is fascinating. If you were to look at the same color dress in a dark room, it's going to tend to look a little bit more bluish or greenish, whereas if you look at it in a light room, it may be more whitish. And the brain is usually really, really good at figuring out what color something is supposed to be, and in other words, making corrections for that context that you see something in. I think the issue with this dress is that it's taken up close with what looks like a camera phone with a light in the back. And so it's a little bit confusing about the brightness context of it. In fact, if you look at the picture, it looks like there's a shadow cast on the front of it. And so I think that what's really happening is that there are some people who are looking at this and mentally perceiving that it's in a dark area. And there are some who are looking at it and mentally perceiving that it's in a bright area.
I showed it to my husband, and we're looking at it in the same room, the same picture, and we both see different colors.
That's one of the reasons that the visual system and visual perception is so fascinating, exactly because of what you said, that two different people can see the exact same thing but perceive it completely the opposite. And from a medical perspective, I think the way that we'd explain this would be that the eye sees things because light goes into the eyeball, and in the back of the eye is a layer that's called the retina. It's basically like the film in a camera. The retina then sends images from the eyeball to the brain. Okay, and the retina is made up of nerve cells that are called rods and cones. Okay, and in dark light, when you're in the dark, you see with your rods. When you're in bright light, you see with your cones. There's only one type of frequency response for rods, and it centers around blue and green. Okay, so in other words, when you go into the dark, most things appear to be bluish and greenish because we're mostly using our rods in the dark. Okay. And when you're in bright lights, we use our cones. Okay, those are the other nerve cell in the retina. And there are three types of cones: red cones, green cones, and blue cones. And because of that, we can perceive a whole range of color. People who are more inclined to perceive this image as being in the dark tend to have that natural sense of wanting to see it with that blue and green type color in the dark, and they can mentally correct for that. And when their brain corrects for that, they tend to view it as more of being a whitish and gold. There are some people who can see it change in front of them, and I think the reason for that is that they're altering the color context. For example, if you look at that picture, and if you cover up the lighting on the right side of the image, or if you look at it in bright light versus dim lights, I think those are the situations where people are going to tend to see the color shift from one to the other.
Lighting and all this perception has been around forever. Why do you think this is such a big deal right now?
When different people can see the same thing and perceive it differently, that's automatically a little bit polarizing and a little bit interesting. I think that the internet is something that's amazing these days because things can spread from one place to another place so quickly. And even my 13-year-old daughter yesterday had about 100 text messages pop up that showed that image with everybody and all of her friends' responses to it. If you were to take this image and Photoshop it, or to do what the photo editors call white balancing or color balancing, that you can alter the appearance of this photo to make it look either blue and black or yellow and gold. And I think it's actually very neat to be able to replicate on a computer by adjusting those settings and balancing the colors of the image to be something that our brain actually naturally perceives and flips on and off. And different people can do that differently depending on what parts of the image they're focusing on.